We have all been in situations when it feels really important to speak your truth, to share your voice, to not hold back, to be authentic, to say what needs to be said. There is a time and place for that. That being said, I want to have a conversation today about when speaking your truth, when sharing what it is that you desire to share is actually harmful to someone else. Nowadays, there's so much conversation around this topic about being really authentic, speaking your truth no matter what. But there's not as much conversation, I feel like, to really represent the other side of that and to talk about, at times, the cost of that authenticity, or when maybe it just isn't the right moment to speak your truth or to share your opinions with someone else. When being authentic is sometimes used, honestly, as an excuse to not have repercussions, to not take responsibility for how your words and your actions are actually affecting someone else. When being authentic is an excuse for being an asshole. I had this come up recently when, in conversation with someone that I care about, I was kind of on the fence. Do I say this thing? Do I not say this thing? Is it the right time? And I made the choice in that moment to say what it is that I felt, what it is that, I felt needed to be expressed. And pretty much as soon as I said this thing, I knew that it was actually the wrong choice. And I kind of recognized really quickly, and even more so with reflection, that number one, it really wasn't necessary for me to say what I said. And number two, it was more so coming from a place of me just making myself feel better. It was not constructive. It wasn't going to shift or change the experience. It wasn't giving that person an opportunity to make any kind of constructive changes. So it really was a very kind of selfish and ego-based decision on my part to speak my truth. I've had this happen to me as well, where in conversation with someone, I really felt like what was being expressed was really only serving that person. There was nothing I could do about it. There was nothing I could change about the situation at that point. And so it had me really reflecting on this idea that some things really are better left unsaid. Yes, absolutely. There is a time, there is a place for speaking up, for setting boundaries, 100%. And I am someone who does really believe that honesty is generally the best policy. However, there is also a time and a place to reflect internally when it comes to what's happening for you. Maybe journal about it, or maybe just process what is coming up a little bit before you actually express it to someone else. I want you to think about this example, and I will be very shocked if this is not something that you have experienced. But I want you to think about some past relationships. And have you ever had this experience where either you yourself or your ex-partner came to you after the relationship and essentially said, there are things that were left unsaid and I'm going to say them now, and just kind of let loose everything that they had not said to you or that you had not said to them in the course of your actual relationship together? The question to really think about in that circumstance is, did you or did they really say what needed to be said? Or was it just making you or that person feel better in that moment? This has happened to me in previous relationships where after we broke up, maybe the person, whoever it was, not naming any names here, said person came to me and was like, I need to say what I never said. I need to express to you, and I need you to know all of the things that I never said when we were in a relationship together. And that's great for you. But it was past the point of me being able to do anything about it. Having a constructive and open and honest conversation is beautiful, but word vomiting all of your repressed feelings and emotions that you never expressed onto someone all at one time, that is not coming from a place of love, and it is not actually coming from a place of genuine authenticity. I often think of the concept of Ahimsa, which comes from yoga, the yogic philosophy, when I think of this. And Ahimsa essentially means non-violence. So really thinking, when it comes to your words, when it comes to speaking your truth or being honest or authentic, is it coming from a place of non-harm? Is it coming from a space of honesty, but also compassion? There is a kind of like a little activity that you can do here. And I've heard that this comes from Buddha, but I've also heard that this comes from multiple different sources. So I am not sure exactly where this concept comes from, but I think that it's really beautiful. What it essentially says is that any time that you are considering sharing your words, expressing your thoughts with someone, speaking your truth, to ask yourself 3 questions, or to let your words pass through 3 gates. And those 3 gates are: is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And I would actually slightly tweak the question, is it kind? I would actually change that to, are you being intentionally unkind? Because I do think that there are situations where what we express in our truth, and at times what genuinely does need to be said, expressing boundaries, whatever it may be, sometimes it is not going to be the kindest thing in the world, but it does not need to be intentionally unkind. It does not need to be cruel or vindictive or hateful to that person. So those are the questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? Some other questions that you can kind of ask yourself when you're thinking about how you're going to express, or if it is necessary to express in this moment, is this something that can be acted upon? If I am expressing something to this person, do they really have the opportunity to change? Do they have the opportunity to take that as constructive feedback? Is there anything that they can actually do with this? From a place of compassion, of respect, and of constructive opportunity, then yes, absolutely speak your truth. But if you are really more so coming from a place of attacking that person, of just expressing all these pent up emotions that you never expressed, of saying something that might not actually be true, but is more so a projection of your inner state or something that you have been triggered by, these are situations where it might be best unsaid. And I know that that's hard, trust me. We're not perfect, and it is really hard sometimes to hold back, but that is where it is really powerful to be able to witness yourself, to stop and to pause and to reflect. And sometimes that means you need to take a little bit of time in between the space of what you feel and what it is that you want to actually verbalize. You can speak your truth and your boundaries from a place of love and a space of compassion. This is a book actually that I really love. It's called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And one of the 4 agreements that he talks about is to be impeccable with your word, to speak with integrity. And something that he talks about here is to avoid using your word to speak against yourself, and also to gossip or to speak against other people. To use the power of your word in the intention or in the direction of truth and love. And I think that that's really the biggest piece here, is truth and love. We can speak our truth. We can be authentic. And is it also coming from a space of love and connectedness and compassion, and really recognizing and remembering that we are all one, that we are all connected, and that when we harm someone else, when we hurt someone else, we are hurting ourselves. And so again, there is a time and a place. There are moments where we need to speak up, set boundaries, speak our truth, and it is going to hurt at times, and that can be really hard, but at times it is necessary. And there are also times where we really need to recognize that what we are saying, we're saying it because it's making us feel better. and not because it actually needs to be said. So I just really invite you to think about this. Think about where in your life you can be more honest, be more open, be more authentic in your words and in your speech, while at the same time coming from a space of love and compassion, and asking yourself those 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, I will see you in the next video.